After months of closed-door negotiations, Senate leaders have finally unveiled a bipartisan $188 billion border security and foreign aid package. Almost immediately, some Democratic and Republican lawmakers expressed concern over the plan. It's unclear if the bill has the 60 necessary votes to pass the Senate. House Republican leadership, meanwhile, is already calling it, quote, dead on arrival, even if it passes the upper chamber. CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez is at the border in Eagle Pass, Texas, and is with us now. Camilo, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here and for all of your reporting. So I know you've looked at this 370-page bill, so our viewers don't have to. Can you walk us through what the major border provisions are in this legislation?
That's right, Caitlin. If signed by the president and passed by Congress, this proposal would mark a dramatic and seismic shift here at the U.S.-Mexico border. Migrants would be quickly returned across the Rio Grande here into Mexico when illegal crossings spike here. The president would gain a sweeping authority, Caitlin, to effectively shut down asylum processing in between the ports of entry, giving authorities here a sweeping power to summarily return migrants when that authority is invoked or triggered by a certain threshold in illegal crossings. We should note, however, that asylum processing, Caitlin, will be preserved at official border crossings. These are the ports of entry that facilitate legal trade and travel. That will continue to be the case. In fact, the government would be mandated to allow at least 1,400 migrants to be processed at those crossings each day when this authority is invoked. This bill would also dramatically speed up the asylum review process that right now takes years to complete. That would try to condense that process into a couple of months. That would be a huge change, Caitlin. And so this bill is garnering criticism from the left and from the right, but the negotiators are saying that this is a compromise that is not perfect because not every side is getting what they want. Obviously, it is very unclear, Caitlin, whether this proposal will be passed in a Congress that has been gridlocked, as you know, on this issue since the 1990s.
Exactly, Camilo. I mean, that's what's so fascinating here. And, lawmakers have spent the past several months working on this, and you've been reporting extensively from the border. You have seen all of this firsthand. So if this bill were to pass, what kind of impact would it have, logistically, fundamentally, on places like you are in Eagle Pass? Would this alleviate some of the issues?
Well, Caitlin, if President Biden was to sign this bill today as we speak, he would almost certainly have the authority to invoke this shutdown authority and power almost immediately. And that is because Border Patrol agents here along the U.S.-Mexico border have been averaging more than 5,000 daily crossings by migrants. And so that threshold would be met almost immediately. And Border Patrol agents here would be allowed to return migrants to Mexico, no questions asked, without allowing them to request asylum, which is currently a requirement under U.S. law. Right now, U.S. asylum law, Caitlin, allows people on U.S. soil to request asylum even if they enter the country illegally. That would change under this authority. And so that is a power that some of these Democrats and Republicans who negotiated this bill believe would allow the president and the administration to reduce overcrowding here and to deter illegal immigration at the U.S.-Mexico border.
Yeah, so that's if this passes, which, as you say, is, at least at this point appears unlikely, to say the least. If we stay in kind of this political gridlock that we're in right now, if this issue isn't addressed, what will continue to happen at the border crossings if there isn't a deal reached here?
Well, simply put, Caitlin, border officials here and asylum officers and immigration judges will continue to operate under a system that is outdated, overwhelmed, and understaffed, and that, again, has not received any major update since the 1990s. And so they are operating under a system that does not reflect the realities of today's migration flows, which are extraordinary. Over 2 million migrant apprehensions were recorded in the past fiscal year alone. That also occurred in fiscal year 2022 as well. And so these numbers are unprecedented. And while official U.S. border crossings have dropped this month in January compared to December, officials here are bracing for another crisis level like in December. In December, U.S. officials here processed more than 300,000 migrants, an all-time high, and they are bracing again for those numbers to go back up.
Some difficult stats there, and an issue that both Republicans and Democrats say they want to address. We'll see what they make of this bill as they continue to read it. Camilo, thank you so much for your reporting and your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Caitlin.
All right, let's go now from the border to Capitol Hill, where we found CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane for us there. I know you've been following all of the ins and outs here. This bill dropped yesterday. Lawmakers are starting to digest it. What are you hearing from Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill? I mean, the House Speaker has already said this is dead on arrival.
Yeah, Caitlin, the first 24 hours of this legislation has been an attempt by critics to kneecap it before it can even walk. All of the Republicans in U.S. House leadership issued a joint statement this afternoon saying they will oppose this thing. It's dead on arrival, an indication it wouldn't even get a vote in the U.S. House if somehow it passed the U.S. Senate. Then there's a contingent of Senate Republicans who've opposed this from the jump, and they've said that they, too, will make their opposition clear as the Senate begins its deliberations. In fact, a group of Senate Republicans will have a news conference midday tomorrow to try to whip up opposition to this negotiation. So what you have here is a coalition that is formed in the middle of the U.S. Senate, but with Senate leadership's blessings. The question gets to be, as this week begins, can this coalition get something out that the U.S. House would ever consider? To do that, Caitlin, they need to build momentum. They need to build support, and the first 24 hours have seen just the opposite.
And one of those critics who is trying to kneecap this, Scott, is former President Donald Trump. He's been very vocal against this deal. I want to play a little bit of what he said during a radio interview and get your thoughts on the other side.
Just to correct the record, I did not endorse Senator Lankford. I didn't do it. He ran, and I did not endorse him. I'm sure your person will be happy to hear that. But yeah, I think this is a very bad bill for his career. This is lunacy, this bill. And you know what it is? It's a gift to the Democrats.
Okay, so Scott, just some quick fact-checking here. He did, in fact, endorse Senator Lankford, the Republican lead on this bill. So just to correct the record there. But this really speaks to the way in which Donald Trump is obviously still influential in Republican Party politics on the Hill. How big of an impact is this having? The idea that for the past couple of weeks now, he's been urging people not to support this.
It sure does have an outsized impact in the U.S. House, especially, Caitlin, where his most ardent supporters control the floor of what can be considered and what can't be. It's one thing to oppose this bill. It's another to have the capacity to block it, which Republicans in the U.S. House do. As for Senator Lankford, correct, he was endorsed by Donald Trump in 2022. But that year is important, isn't it? 2022 means Senator Lankford is not up again until 2028, perhaps making him the fitting person for this mission, considering the political blowback he's getting inside his own party. But you have to separate the other components of this bill to really unpack where the concern's coming from. Any number of people concerned about the politics of border security, and any number of people with whom we're speaking today, Caitlin, concerned about what happens to Ukraine. $60 billion in this bill is to help Ukraine at a time of war with Russia. We spoke with Hawaii Democrat Brian Schatz about that earlier today.
It is literally life or death for the country of Ukraine, and we have to decide whether, as the indispensable nation, we are going to stand up against the kind of aggression that we've always stood up against. And so we have to do it one more time, united as a country, to stand up for Eastern Europe and stand up for the free world.
A few other threads, Caitlin. I spoke with Tim Kaine, Democratic senator from Virginia, who acknowledges this is all very fragile right now. First possible test votes in the Senate come Wednesday. This bill just got an endorsement from the National Border Patrol Union. That usually is a formative thing to have on immigration reform legislation. We'll see if it moves the needle, but something's going to have to.
All right, Scott MacFarlane, we will wait and see, but thank you very much for your time and reporting. We appreciate it.
Thank you.